Here we go, RFL fans. Coach Chris Dunn here of the Sacramento Miners, back at it for another episode of Miners Live. Episode 2 last week. If you missed the show, be sure to check out the archives. You can go to the YouTube channel, Sacramento Miners RFL on YouTube. You can see the one-on-one interview that I had with rookie tight end Anthony Fry. I thought it was really important as we launched this YouTube channel to sort of spotlight and highlight some of the rookies from the recent draft class. So you can go back and check out last week's show. Anthony Fry came on, spent a lot of time with me going over his transition from the college series into the RFL, what it was like going through the draft process on draft day, sitting there waiting for his name to be called, then being part of RFL history as there was a draft day trade, the first ever trade on draft day during the live draft in RFL history, which was really exciting for him, certainly really exciting for me, and hopefully it was really exciting for you Miners fans out there. So be sure to go check that out. Also, if you aren't already, follow us on Twitter, Miners RFL, at Miners RFL on Twitter. Be sure to check us out on Twitter. Please follow the team. Any news that comes through, we're going to have it on Twitter. Also, you can check out the team Instagram page, the same thing, Miners RFL. And also, like I said, the YouTube channel is really where we're going to be pumping out some content. So really excited about the show tonight. A couple big announcements that I have for you guys on the show tonight. One of them is I sat down and I spent some time coming up with a new rating scale. For those of you that have been paying attention to the RFL and the RFL Draft Network and getting ready for the college series, you probably saw a lot of what Coach Baker and Mitch have been doing with their rankings for the upcoming college series. And so I thought it would be nice to kind of sit down and do my own little rankings, my own little rating system for the RFL players. Right now we're in the off season. It's a little bit of a downtime, but wanted to make sure that we're really spotlighting the RFL even during the off season. And so I launched this new ratings index, this new PAAR. I call it the PAAR Index, which I'm really excited for, and I'll go over that and what that means and how I came up with it. And I'm going to start off with one particular position group on tonight's show, break down the top 10 by positions, and throughout the next few weeks and months, I will go through each position and kind of break down based on this PAAR index who the top 10 players are at their position in the RFL. Which will be a good primer as we head in to the RFL season, which again won't happen until January. So from now until then, it's a lot of off-season content. It's a lot of college series. So again, be sure, follow the team on Twitter at Miners RFL, Instagram at Miners RFL. The YouTube channel is there. Any questions, ideas, comments that you have, please be sure you can hit me up on Discord. You can comment during the show live. If you have questions and you'd like to get them answered on air, you can comment throughout the show. We can pull those comments up and we will be sure to answer those questions for you on air, go over some things that you might want us to go over. And that kind of leads me into my other announcement that I have for the show. You may have noticed that I'm saying we a little bit. I'm not just referring to we as in the team, but I'm also referring to I've got myself a producer for the show, and I'm kind of excited to introduce you guys to Rohan the Producer. We will bring him on a little bit later. He's helping me put the show together, some show elements. So I'm really excited to have Rohan helping me out on this show. What else? What else do we have on tonight's show? We got another one-on-one sit-down. Last week, as I mentioned, Anthony Fry came on, answered some questions about his transition to the RFL. Tonight, I'm going to be joined by rookie wide receiver Paavo Frederick. Really excited to have Pavo on the show. Second-round draft pick out of Alabama. I had him as one of the top 3 wide receivers in the college series. So I was certainly pleased to be able to acquire him with the 26th pick, I believe it was, in the second round. So Pavo will be joining the show. And again, anything that you have that you would like to address, you would like to hear me talk about, if it's about the minors, if it's about the RFL, whatever it might be, I'm all ears. Before we get into too much more, I did really want to get on my soapbox here for a second and just kind of throw something out to all of you incoming College Series 3 prospects. We're all really excited. We're all looking forward to the College Series and what it's going to bring. I'm just going to throw this out there, though, for those of you that thought that it was going to be a good idea to sort of make a powerhouse conference or a powerhouse team, or get together with all your buddies and all join one team. Yeah, I may or may not be talking to all of you West Virginia Mountaineers. For those of you that thought it was going to be a good idea to literally put a user submitted player at every single position on one particular school, I'm going to tell you right now, you're probably going to be a little bit disappointed as the College Series goes along. And you may even be a little bit disappointed once the College Series ends, your college career is over, and you transition into the RFL. There's 32 teams in the College Series here, guys. You don't get to shine when you're one of 25 guys that are on a team. Okay. When you look at the College Series and you look up and down the rosters, and all of us coaches have done it, the front office has done it, and you as submitted prospects have, I'm sure, also done it. When you look through and you see the likes of West Virginia and Notre Dame and Baylor, I don't know about you, but if it were me and I were submitting a player, I would want to submit the player that I thought could stand out a little bit more. Go to a university where I thought I was going to get not just regular playing time and a lot of playing time, but go somewhere where I was going to be able to stand out. When you've got a team like, let's just say the Tar Heels of North Carolina, who, if you didn't catch it earlier this week, like I said, Mitch and Coach Baker did their top 10 wide receiver rankings for the incoming College Series. And if you saw that top 10, what you also saw were there were 3 wide receivers from North Carolina. I'm just going to throw this out there, guys. There's probably 5 to 10 wide receivers that were not in that top 10 list that will finish better than the wide receiver 3 at North Carolina. So I understand that wide receiver 3 at North Carolina heading into the College Series was number 10 on the power rankings. And I think Mitch and Baker do a phenomenal job with that. And I think they hit the nail on the head with their breakdowns and what goes into their thought process. On paper, yes. Based on the criteria, based on their system and their logic and what they're looking at, yes, UNC has 3 of the top 10 wide receivers. What I'm here to tell you is that UNC will not have 3 wide receivers finish in the top 10 when it comes bowl season. And I can promise you that they're not going to have 3 wide receivers taken in the top 10 wide receiver picks. It's not going to happen. You look at the likes of Miami last year, several teams who had 3 wide receivers. It just doesn't. It doesn't work. It doesn't play out that way. So again, I think it's great. You get all your guys together, you get all your boys together, and you get together and you go to West Virginia, and maybe you win. Maybe you win. Maybe you ride it out and you have a fantastic season, and maybe you pull the Georgia Bulldogs and you go undefeated and you win the national championship. But is that going to be enough for you? Are you going to be happy with just winning the national championship? Are you going to be happy with winning the national championship and then going undrafted in the RFL draft because you're right? Like, I just don't think that is going to be fulfilling for you in the long run. And maybe I'm wrong. And maybe I'm wrong in that 3 wide receivers from UNC will get taken in the top 10 wide receivers of the RFL draft. And maybe all 3 of them will go in the first round. If that's the case, I will have each and every one of them on the show, and I will let them roast me. I will take it like a man, right on the chin, and let them have at it. But I just don't see that happening. I don't foresee that happening. I don't think that it's, the best way to position yourself for the RFL. Now, there's no rules against it. The advantages of doing it are there. The disadvantages of doing it are there. Whether or not they're both equally talked about, I don't know. A lot of people will talk about the advantages, and you put 22 guys on a team and you go and you're a powerhouse, and it's difficult to lose a game when you got 20 guys on a team with 99 speed or 99 tackle or 99 awareness or 99 throw power, 99 acceleration. It's really difficult for that team to lose. But again, is it the best way for you to position yourself to have a successful career in the RFL? Because again, at the end of the day, this is not really about the college series. If you guys created a player and you guys paid the $5 dues simply to be a part of the college series, you are missing out. And quite honestly, we're disappointed. We are disappointed as coaches. We are disappointed as fans. And I'm sure the front office would be disappointed too. The last thing that anybody who is a fan, coach, or front office member of the RFL wants is for a guy to pay their college series dues, come into the league, never be active, never participate, never watch the live games, and then when the college series is over, not be participating in the scouting process leading up to the draft, not be active during the draft. Guy gets undrafted, or even if you are active, another thing that we really don't want to see is guys that are active and they are really into it and excited, but then they find out that come the RFL draft, their player gets picked in the 5th or 6th round, their player gets picked in the 7th round, and now all of a sudden they're bummed. You're disappointed. You don't understand why you were preseason top 10 wide receiver in the country and you got drafted in the 7th round, and you got drafted to a team that has 3 wide receivers on the roster that are significantly better than you coming out of college as a rookie. And now you're buried on the depth chart at wide receiver and you flame out and lose interest in the league. That's not what we want, guys. We really want guys that are going to be committed. If there's one thing that we can stress, one thing more than anything above all, right? Hashtag league first. We all know it. We hear Smitty. We hear Bill. We hear Mix talk and preach all the time. And we have all bought in. All of us coaches have bought in. Hashtag league first. Okay? That's what we are here for. We want you guys to stay for the long run. We don't want you to pay $5, build a powerhouse at West Virginia, win the national championship, and then just sort of ride off into the sunset and not be a part of the RFL. The college series was created to be a supplement to help enhance the RFL. The end game for all of you is the RFL. It is not the college series. So again, I'm not here to say that 3 wide receivers at North Carolina aren't going to finish in the top 10 yards when it comes to the awards at the end of the season. I'm not here to say that, one of those North Carolina wide receivers can't win the Heisman Trophy. I'm not here to, rain on anyone's parade. I'm just here to throw caution a little bit. We're all a little bit excited right now, rightfully so. We've gone a few months now without any football whatsoever. The draft was, I would say, arguably the most exciting outside of maybe week 1 heading into last season. This past draft was one of the most exciting days of the RFL calendar. And now we're getting ready for the college series, and certainly that will be exciting as well. For my viewing pleasure, and this is just me, I would like to be able to turn on the broadcast on a Saturday afternoon. I'd like to turn on the broadcast and be able to watch 4 or 5 games where there were 5 or 6 or 7 players on each team that I could follow and watch and scout and take notes on. And unfortunately, this year, guys, it looks like we might not have that as much as we did last season. We've got a team like West Virginia, who, when West Virginia plays, we are all going to be watching West Virginia. Every single coach will watch every single West Virginia game. If we're not able to watch it live on air, then we're going to watch it after. We're going to catch it on demand. We're going to catch the archive because we want to see those players. And unfortunately, when you see a team like Florida State, for example, doesn't have a single submitted player, I don't know, it just seems to me like if you want to carve a path for yourself into the RFL, there's positions on other schools that don't have submitted players that you could have submitted a player to. The quarterback at Florida State seems like a nice place to start. The running back at Florida State, the middle linebacker at Florida State, the corner, whatever offensive or defensive skill position you want to look at one of those schools is a really big deal. And to be able to showcase yourself and highlight yourself. And I just think it would have been nice to see more parity, I guess, is what I will say. I will sort of wrap this up a little bit and just say, I wish there was more parity. I wish that we had more guys that were going to more schools. And I hope that, if nothing else, maybe this is a lesson to future college series classes to think about, rather than, be one of 20 guys at a particular school, be one of 3 guys, or be the guy, be the number 1 guy. There's still a path for you to make it in the RFL. Be strategic. Find the school. Sure, go to the school that you love. Go to the school that you currently go to. Go to the school that you're an alma mater, graduated from. You're an alma mater of. They're your alma mater. Everyone, you all have the right to pick whatever school you want to go to. I just wish, for me, that we, and when I say we, I really mean myself, had the opportunity to watch every single college series game, knowing that there was multiple prospects that we were going to be looking at. And this year, they're not all going to be user submitted. If you heard on previous podcasts, Smitty has come out and said that there will be no more carryover players from the college teams. You will not see, you won't see the likes of Najee Harris, for example, last year on Alabama. You won't, like Henry Ruggs on Alabama. You won't see that this season. Everyone will be created over, and there will be generics, and there will be no actual real life players on any team. So I think that's nice. That will add to the intrigue. That will also make it, I guess, a little bit more interesting, because it's going to make the coaches' jobs a little bit more challenging, because we're going to have to look at all those generic players also and scout those guys just the same, even though they're not user submitted. They're not going to be able to build their player up like a user submitted player would. We're going to have to work a little bit harder to scout those generic players. So all that being said, I just wish that there was a little bit more parity in the college series. I'm super excited to watch. I'm looking forward to following each and every one of you college series prospects in your career. I will be out there catching film, taking notes on each and every one of your games. Those of you that are interested in becoming a member of the Sacramento Miners, and at that point, it might not be the Sacramento Miners, wink, wink, hint, hint, nod, nod. Feel free to reach out. I'm very active. I'm very interactive with guys. You can ask any of the players that I drafted this past draft. I was very interactive with most of the guys that I selected leading up to the draft. I think all of the guys that I ended up selecting in this past draft, I had conversations with prior to the draft. So really, don't be afraid to reach out. If you want to find me on Discord, you can comment on the YouTube. You can reach out on the YouTube channel. Whatever's best for you, whatever's easiest for you. I'm all ears. I'm open. Really look forward to interacting with you guys. But without further ado, I'm really excited. I know you can see scrolling across the bottom of the screen that we've got Paavo Frederick, rookie wide receiver out of Alabama, coming on the show. For those of you that didn't follow Pavo's career at Alabama, he, in my eyes, was one of the top 3 wide receivers in the country. 1,333 yards receiving, third amongst all wide receivers, 7 touchdowns from the hand of Jacob McCall. So all that being said, really excited to have Pavo join us on the show. Pavo, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great, and I'm excited to be a minor. I'm excited to showcase my talents for this team. I want to prove everyone wrong that passed up on me because I felt like they doubted my abilities. So I want to, just perform on that level that I'm supposed to.
So you bring up an interesting point, Pavo, and you say, I'm here to prove people wrong and prove the doubters wrong. You do feel, I guess, just kind of taking your words and paraphrasing a little bit, you do feel a little bit, I guess, looked over. You do feel like you were sort of overshadowed and sort of not looked at as you should have been. Am I correct? You do have that little chip on your shoulder?
Yeah, I felt like because I know there were at least like 5 receivers drafted before me, and I felt like I shouldn't have felt that low. I felt like I was doubted. They didn't believe, I could perform at that level. I felt
Is
like
there
I can prove them wrong.
is there a particular receiver, right? So when you look back at the draft, right? Were you able to watch the draft? I know you and I talked during the draft. Were you able to watch the entire first round of the draft? What were you doing during the draft?
Well, I was watching. I thought I was gonna be drafted towards the end of the first round, so I was, you know, it was this kind of like anticipation, you
Right,
know. So I was watching. I was waiting for my name, but I didn't hear my name.
right.
So, and that kind of like, he just put a chip on my shoulder, you know.
At what point was it when you started to feel neglected? Like, do you remember a particular point in, I guess you said you were expecting to hear your name go towards the end of the first round. Was there a particular point, or was there a particular player? Maybe even that. Was there a particular player or wide receiver that was selected at any point, and sort of that was the moment for you where you felt like, you know what? What about me? Did you
Yeah,
have that at
well,
all?
yeah. When I realized it was towards, I say the mid second round, I'd
Okay.
say, like when I heard like the third or fourth receivers name called before me, that's when I realized, man, like it's kind of, they're doubting me, you know, like because I know the talents I have, I know what I can do, so it's frustrating.
So I'm going to do this for you, Pavo. And I know this is not to throw salt into the wounds because I get it. And look, no one is happier. Nobody is happier than I am to have been able to pick you up in the second round. But I do want to just throw some names out there because if nothing else, I like a guy with a little bit of fire and I want you to have that burn. I want you to have that itch. I want you to have the desire to go out there and prove all these other coaches wrong and make a name for yourself. So just for you, Pavo, first round, pick number 11, Jake Winkelman. Pick number 12, Chris Braun. Pick number 14, Brock Melton. So there's 3 wide receivers taken in the top 14. Then the 4th wide receiver off the board, or pick number 19 overall to the Barons, Latavius Machiavelli. Then you go to the 5th wide receiver taken, and Mix took Chadoy Bullyjack. So Bullyjack becomes a member of the Cougars. That was the 5th wide receiver taken. Then you have to go all the way to pick 16 in the 2nd round, and Ryan LeCallier gets taken to the Snowhawks. That's now what I say, the 6th wide receiver taken. Louis Cardenas is the 7th wide receiver taken to the Elks. And then finally, the 8th wide receiver off the board, for some crazy reason, you hear your name called. Is there any receiver in particular of all of the ones that I just named that baffles you or blows your mind that they were selected before you? Or maybe they all do. I don't know.
Yeah, man. To be honest, I'm not throwing salt in anyone's name. I feel like I'm better than all these guys. I
Okay.
come with that competitive mentality. I feel like I'm the best at my position in this entire draft. That's what I feel like.
And I'm going to be honest with you, Pavo. Watching you throughout the college series, you were right up there. I will tell you there. I think you've probably heard me say this. I think I said this to you in private conversations. I know I said it previously on the show last week. I had maybe 2 wide receivers that I would have taken ahead of you, and there was certainly no doubt in my mind what I was doing when I picked 29th overall in the 2nd round. Earlier, I had said 26th overall in the 2nd round. It was actually 29th in the 2nd round. I'm thrilled to have you on the team. I know I've talked to some of the other guys on the team. They're thrilled to have you as well. Have you had a chance to kind of look up and down the Miners roster at all and get familiar with the names? I know we've talked a little bit about what your role might be as a rookie, but have you gotten a chance to kind of look at some of the guys, some of the names to see what you might expect?
I'm happy with how the team's position right now. I'm happy with everything. I noticed our defense. We have a nice. Our linebacker core is spectacular. We just have a solid team overall, and I'm proud. I'm proud to be a Miner. I'm happy to be in the team that's in this position where I can, come in there at that slot position, make a difference in my first season.
Absolutely. Check this out, Pavo. There's probably nothing better than what Rapid Fire Gaming just said right here. Pavo, you finna be good. I used you on the Madden draft class. So for those of you that don't know what Rapid Fire Gaming is talking about here, is you can actually take the recent RFL draft class and you can upload it into your own offline franchise. It was made public. Smitty made the draft class file public. You can import that draft class into your own file, your own franchise, and you can play with all of these guys. The great thing about that is you can do so prior to us even getting the chance to do it. I'm not going to really be able to see what Paavo Frederick can do on an RFL field until January. However, you could get a glimpse and you can get an idea of what he might be capable of by simply uploading the College Series 2 draft class and play as one of these guys in your own offline franchise. I think it's awesome. I think it's fantastic that Smitty was able to do that. I think it's a phenomenal feature for us as coaches who can create our own little offline franchise and throw these guys in there. I also think it's fantastic for you as fans out there to be able to upload this class and play with them. Look, the RFL is CPU versus CPU. We don't actually get to play. But now you have the actual ability to play with Paavo Frederick on your franchise. So Paavo, I think that's pretty cool. How about you?
Man, I feel like it's great. Yeah, I'd say it's great, because I can use that. I can see what I can do. I can use that to, I guess, foreshadow like my abilities as I
Sure.
get better.
Have you had a chance? Do you play? Let me ask you this, Paavo. Do you play? How much Madden do you actually play?
I play a little bit of Madden. I'm more of a basketball person, but I do play some Madden. I play
Okay.
franchise a lot.
Is franchise your go-to mode? Are you a MUT guy? Are you a franchise guy?
Yeah, I'd
Face of
say
the franchise guy?
yeah, I play a little bit of face of franchise. I'm not really into it competitively, but yeah, I do. I play a little bit of Madden.
Okay. So I want to take a moment and look at your submitted attributes while you were in college, because again, we're getting ready for the college series. Everyone is excited about what college series 3 is going to look like, what it's going to bring. And one of the first steps in becoming a part of the college series is creating your player. One of the first things you have to do, you have to pay the $5 entry fee, and then you have to submit your attributes. So I just want to go through real quick, Pavo, what your submitted attributes were for the college series when you submitted your player. Again, you're allowed to do 199, 390s, and then 485s. So your 99 attribute was speed. Your 390 attributes were acceleration, catching traffic. Then your 485s were short route running, spectacular catch, release, and jumping. So going back, thinking about all of that, thinking about all of those attributes, take me back to that point when you sat down and put pen to paper on those choices. And what was your thought process, and what were you trying to do when you created Paavo Frederick?
Yeah, and I didn't want to be like those other receivers, well they were kind of like built around speed. I wanted to be able to do everything that a wide receiver could possibly do. So I
But
was
you gave
going,
yourself, but Paavo, you gave yourself 99 speed. So
yeah, but like for my other attributes, I kind of like made them more well rounded, I guess.
sure. I
So
would
I was
agree. I would
going,
buy that. So one of the things that I noticed, and this played over in uh, your draft stock, is that you had 85 release. You had 85 release on here. So not a lot of the submitted wide receivers had release as one of their top, but certainly you did. I like to see it on there. I think it's important, especially at the RFL level, to be able to get off the line, and get open. So nice to see, and that did translate. You do enter the RFL as a rookie with that 85 release. So I'm certainly excited to see that. Pavo, are you eating over there? What are you doing?
no, that's my setup is kind of messed up right now. But yeah, I hear you, man. I feel like that release, it's gonna play into me being at the slot position a lot. I can get off the line really well. I can get open. Grab the ball. Push the ball up the field, get some yards, man.
What are you most excited for uh, entering the RFL?
I'm most excited to all those teams, all those receivers. I'm most excited to for that matchup. Like prove what I can do. Like do better than everyone else. That's what I'm most excited for.
Is
Showcase
there
my
any is there any particular team? Have you had a chance to look at the ARC or the ARC South? Is there any particular team that you've looked at and are kind of excited to go up against?
I'm excited for them Cougars. Man, I
Why
see
is
their
that?
team.
Why is that?
I see their team. They have a lot of big names over there. I'm excited for my man Chris. For that going because he texted me before. He said, "Man, he's excited for that one-on-one matchup. He's gonna be there. He's gonna be there waiting for me. So I'm excited to go head to head with all these guys."
What's up, Beta Boros? I see you in the chat. Pavo, before I get you out of here, is there anything else that you would like to add? I know I'm really excited to have you. I think as we get a little bit closer to the start of camp, we'll have more conversations, and we'll get a chance to sit down and kind of go over what we think things will look like as the season gets ready to kick off. Is there anything that last week I gave Anthony Fry the same opportunity. Is there anything that you would like to ask me, right? I guess here's your chance to put me on the hot seat. Anything that you want to ask me before we head into the season?
Man, I don't really have anything in mind, but I want to know, like, I'd say, like, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to go in there and just contend straight away? Like, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to progress over the?
Pavo, we're trying to win, buddy. We're trying to win, bud.
Of course. Yeah,
we won the division. We went 12-4 last year. We won the ARC South, and I will continue to say that we won the ARC South until Coach Frankie has turned blue in the face, because I know it drives him nuts that we were able to knock him off his throne. ARC South champs, 12-4 record, number 2 in the conference. If it weren't for the fact that the NFL went to a 7 teams per division playoff last year, we would have had a bye. If it was the old format, we would have had a first round bye. Obviously, we didn't. We drew the Black Knights in the first round, came up short. It went to overtime. It was a classic. If you guys hadn't had a chance to check out that game, we did lose in overtime. We had a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter, and the Black Knights were able to come back. They took it to overtime, and we never saw the field in overtime. And that was pretty much it. That was the end of our season. So the goal this year, Pavo, is to get to the Relo Bowl. We are pretty much returning all of our starters, with the exception of 2 guys on defense, I would say, and maybe a couple guys on the offensive line. We're returning pretty much everybody. So really looking forward to that. And I want to win. I want you to come in, and I want this team to win.
I'm excited to hear that. I want to go in there and make a difference, win championships. That's the plan every team should have. I don't want to just, you know what I mean? Like, just stay at the same position for over the time. I want to go in there, go straight for the big trophy. You know what I mean?
That's it. You weren't able to get, I'll tell you, Pavo, you weren't able to take home the national championship at Alabama, but we're going to do everything to take home the Relo Bowl championship in the RFL. How's that sound, buddy?
That sounds amazing.
All right. Well, Pavo, I appreciate you coming on the show. Appreciate the time. As always, we'll talk soon. Alabama wide receiver drafted 29th in the second round, Paavo Frederick. Thanks for coming on the show tonight, bud.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right. So there it is. Paavo Frederick. He was the 3rd pick that I had in the second round. First pick in the second round, we went Kenny Forrester. Then with the second pick, we went Jakari Torres. And then with the 29th pick in the second round, Paavo Frederick was the selection. You heard me break down the wide receivers earlier. 8th wide receiver selected. I know you heard him say that does not weigh well on him. He's not thrilled about it. I love it. I thought it was great. And I'm going to be the one, and Miners fans out there, you're going to be the ones who reap the reward for Paavo Frederick falling to 8th in terms of wide receivers taken in the draft. So appreciate Pavo coming on the show. Really excited to see what he's going to be able to do for us as we head into the season 7 of the RFL. So we've got about 20 minutes left in the show, and what I want to get into now is something that I'm taking on. I'm a little bit excited about. It's going to be a bit of an endeavor, but for those of you that saw, again, what Mitch and what Coach Baker have done with breaking down the top 10 players entering the college series, I've decided to sort of do my own little breakdown of players in the RFL, right? And strategic, and more specifically the ARC, right? Like, so unfortunately, right now, I only have access to the ARC file. So I can't really give as much in-depth analysis on the NRC as I would like to. But in terms of the ARC, what I'm going to be doing is breaking down the top 10 by position in the ARC. And so what I did is I created the PAAR Index, PAAR, the PAAR Index, right? So you're asking yourself, well, what the heck is the PAAR Index? So I created the PAAR Index. It is the position adjusted attribute rating. So the position adjusted attribute rating index. Basically, what this is taking every player by position and taking specific and particular attributes based on their position and weighing them accordingly. So different attributes carry different weight based on their position. So for example, if you are a offensive lineman, your speed isn't really weighted heavily. And so I'm not really taking into consideration your speed when looking at your PAAR index. Okay. So I mentioned offensive linemen. And the reason I mention offensive linemen is to go ahead and just bring it up. And you'll see here, what is the PAAR index? Well, I went ahead and I created the top 10 for left tackles in the RFL right now. So here's a look at the position adjusted and attribute ratings for the top 10 left tackles in the ARC. Again, this is just for the ARC. You'll notice that these are not 100% in line with their overall rating. So you can actually see their PAAR index score here. DeMarcus DeGreat, 95.14. Glenn Devine, 89.33. Coincidentally, if you look at DeMarcus DeGreat, his overall in the game is a 97. Okay, so his PAAR index actually comes down a little bit. But again, you think about it in terms of he's got really high grades in other scores that are bringing his overall up that don't really weigh into his abilities as a left tackle. So it's going to be natural to see guys with extremely high overalls like that come down a little bit in terms of their PAAR index. So just a quick look, Glenn Devine in at number 2, Zach Kowalski of the Cougars at number 3, Jake Moffitt of the London Bulldogs, CJ McFarland of the San Antonio Dreadnoughts, Fernando Rudolph of the Portland Riverhogs comes in at number 6. Oklahoma City Bison's left tackle Hugh Jacobs has an 84.84 PAAR index. Also, I did a PAAR index for LaShawn Tate, who was the rookie that the Bisons selected. He didn't crack the top 10. He's the only actual backup that I did a PAAR index for because LaShawn Tate is a rookie. So I think that he might get some playing time. He might get moved over. Perhaps he gets the starting job at right tackle right away. He's a 69 overall in game. His PAAR index, again, this is LaShawn Tate, rookie tackle for the Bisons, came in at a 75.49. So he finished outside the top 10. Orlando Sentinels left tackle Riley Hayden, 83.89. And then we get our boy Thomas Brown, 82.04 on the PAAR index. His overall in file is a little bit lower than that. It was actually a 75. So interesting here to see a guy like Thomas Brown, who has a 75 overall, get bumped up to an 82 in terms of the PAAR index. So there's a couple of guys that I thought graded out fairly well on the PAAR index, but if you look at their overall, you might not be able to get that from their overall. So you look at a guy like Hugh Jacobs, his overall is an 80, but his PAAR index is an 84.4. Even look at a guy who didn't make the top 10 here in Theodore Rollins, who's the starting left tackle, or he did make top 10. He's in at number 10. Theodore Rollins in at number 10 is a 74 overall, but he came in at an 80.51 on the PAAR index. Very similar to, again, our boy, Thomas Brown, who's a 75 in file, but came across as an 82.04. So I'm really excited about this PAAR index. If you have questions about it, feel free to reach out. Basically, what it is it's taking specific attributes that are important for that particular player's position. So, for example, left tackles, I can go ahead and give you some of the key attributes that I weighted: pass block finesse, pass block power, run block finesse, run block power. Those are some of the big attributes that were weighted to come up with the PAAR Index. So, really excited about this. Tell me what your thoughts are. Do you like it? Do you think this is a better way to potentially rank players? Do you like the regular overall rating that Madden gives? Love to hear your thoughts on the PAR Index. I will have more position by positions as we get closer to the start of the RFL season. I'm going to try to do left tackles are a big position, and they're a really big component of the offensive line. I think I might try to do interior linemen, both guards, right guard, left guard, and center all together, just to kind of have that as one big element, one big piece, one big segment of a show, without actually giving right guards and left guards as much time, because they're not the sexy play, and certainly we want to be able to mention it. We want to be able to see who those key guys and recognize those top 10 players, but we also want to make sure that we're giving you the best content that we possibly can. And so we'll try to lump those guys a little bit together for next week's show. And, again, really excited. If you have any questions on the PAR Index, feel free to ask me on Discord. You can comment on the show on YouTube, or also if you want to be sure to follow the team on Twitter. Like I mentioned earlier, we're also there on Twitter, and be sure to take any questions that you have on the PAR Index. Other thing that we have to get to before the show ends, Thursday Trivia Thursday. The question was posed for Trivia Thursday: how many pass deflections did Last Chance have last season? And the correct answer, for those of you that guessed C, the correct answer was C, 23. Last Chance had 23 pass breakups, pass deflections last season. He tied for first in the ARC with Kilo Austin of the Dublin Celtic Tigers. And third in the ARC was Avante Celestine, who had 18 pass deflections for the San Diego Red Dragons. Interesting note, if you look at those two guys that finished with Last Chance and just below Last Chance, Kilo Austin, Celtic Tigers, won the Relo Bowl last season. Avante Celestine, San Diego Red Dragons, won the Relo Bowl the year before that. Okay, so Last Chance is in good company with these guys who led their team to Relo Bowl championships. Perhaps, maybe foreshadowing a little bit here, Miners fans, maybe Last Chance's name on the top of this list is foreshadowing that the Sacramento Miners are destined for a trip to the Relo Bowl and destined to win the Relo Bowl. I know, I certainly hope so. Miners fans out there, who knows? We shall see. But again, the PAR Index, position attribute adjusted rating. It's going to break down the top 10 players in the ARC based on their specific attributes that are beneficial to their position, and will weigh them accordingly, different weights for different attributes. I'm not going to go into how I have them. If you are interested in the index itself, then by all means, I can give you a little bit more information, and maybe you can come up with your own weighted system, weighted scale, and maybe you feel different about certain attributes than I do, and you want to go ahead and weigh those on your own and come up with your own rankings, by all means. But again, the PAR Index, position attribute adjusted rating, and Last Chance had 23 pass deflections for the Sacramento Miners last season, tied for first in the ARC with Kilo Austin of the Dublin Celtic Tigers. All right, so we've got about 10 minutes left in the show, and the 10-minute mark is where I'm going to be installing a new segment of the show. It's called 4 Down Territory. This is going to be 4 Down Territory, and I'm going to bring in Rohan the Producer for this. So we're going to go 4 down territory with Rohan the Producer, who I'm going to bring in now. Rohan, there he is. You can see him smiling away on camera. 4 down territory with Rohan the Producer. Rohan, first down. What do you got for me, buddy?
All right. Well, we thought for most of the offseason that the Sacramento Miners would be one of the teams relocating this offseason. But things are looking a little better for this team. It looks like they're going to be staying here in Sacramento for one last season, most likely. So, first down, what's the ideal landing spot for relocation?
Ideal landing spot, right? So we don't really know. This is a tough one to answer because we don't know for sure what the capabilities are going to be of the RFL file come January. There are going to be some updates to franchise. We don't know what that's going to look like. Maybe we're going to be able to have custom cities where you don't have to just select from a list of cities like we have in the past. Maybe we'll be able to have our own custom city in there. But I guess if I had to pick, I would probably lean. I'm originally from the Northeast. So born and raised in Massachusetts, I would love to be the Boston, move the team to Boston. I think that would be really cool to have a team in Boston. I currently live down in Tampa, Florida. So the idea of having a team in Tampa, obviously, I don't know if that's something that we'd want to do, how many cities we want to carry over from the actual NFL into the RFL. I don't know how many of those Smitty's going to want to do. But maybe another city in Florida would be nice. Maybe a city like Tallahassee. Maybe there's another city, or maybe just some other southern city. I don't know. What about you? Do you have one that you like in particular that you would like to see the team move to, or what do you got?
I'm out here in California. I'm literally in a suburb of Sacramento, so I'm glad that they're here for now. I mean, I hate to see them move. I guess some cities that maybe somewhere, you know what? I don't really know. I would think somewhere maybe in the Midwest would be a good spot. There's not really an RFL team there yet. So I don't know. What do you think?
He's talking like a Wichita. We could do a Wichita, maybe a Topeka.
Mm-hmm.
There's Oklahoma City, so I would consider Midwest.
Maybe a Las Vegas team.
Yeah, Vegas would be good. Again, I mean, this all depends. I think Vegas is a good one. I don't know how many same cities we're going to end up having that carry over from the RFL. I mean, look, we're not going to just take the same cities from the NFL and carry them over to the RFL. Like, somebody's not going to do that. That's not what the league is built on, and that's not what the league's about. But Vegas is a good one that I think could potentially carry over. Maybe there's a team that goes back to St. Louis, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think St. Louis would be a good one too. But for now, I don't really know. I'd like to see Boston. I don't know whether we would be fortunate enough to get Boston. I think that's a big draw. There's probably several other coaches that would have their hand in that ring to take over Boston. But I'd like to see Boston. I'm okay with a couple teams in the Midwest, maybe another city there. Or again, maybe there's a city in Florida. Again, there's, I'm not really sure. I'm interested to see what it's going to look like. It does look like we're going to get one more year in Sacramento, although we might not, because the season doesn't start till January, and who knows what EA is going to roll out between now and January. So I guess first down, ideal landing spot, I'm going to say Boston. You lean towards somewhere in the Midwest. Second down, what do we got? What's up? What's on deck for second down here?
All right, second down. Well, Damani Manuel just came off a phenomenal season with the Miners. And when I think of Damani Manuel, I think automatically of that 99-yard touchdown run that he had in week 1, which you guys posted on your guys' social media channel earlier today. And my opinion, one of the best runs in RFL history. So is Damani Manuel arguably the best running back in the ARC?
Oh, so I don't want to. I guess I'm going to answer this question in 2 parts. Is there a running back in the ARC that I would rather start my franchise with than Damani Manuel? No. If I were starting a franchise right now and I could pick any running back in the ARC that's played in the ARC, right? I mean, I'm not going to, Cam Perkins hasn't seen a down yet, right? Amir Williams hasn't seen a down yet. Those guys, and they're not, both of them aren't even in the ARC, but just rookie running backs in general haven't seen it down yet. In terms of an existing RFL running back in the ARC, there's nobody that I would rather start my franchise with. That said, I don't know if I'm going to say that he's the best. I think there's a lot of other really good backs out there. Even just in our own division, I really like Javonte Gilliam. I think he gets overshadowed a little bit because the way that he's used in San Antonio, he doesn't see the field as much as as much as a guy like Damani Manuel does. He's a little bit older. You want to keep the wear and tear on his legs down a little bit. I completely understand what Coach Frankie does with Javonte Gilliam, but I look at a guy like Javonte Gilliam and I think he's really good. Trey Worsley, he's really good. There's a lot of running backs out there that are really good. In terms of overall, one thing that I would like to build up on Damani Manuel is his power back attributes, right? He doesn't have a lot of that break tackle stiff arm. You get him in the open field, like you said, 98-yard touchdown run in week 1 last season. It was the longest run from scrimmage. It was the longest run of the season by anyone in the league. And he's a burner. He's an absolute burner. And I think he's only 23 years old. I think sky's the limit for this kid. Would I want to start my franchise with him right now? Yes, absolutely. Am I going to say he's the best in the ARC? I'm going to say he's top 3. How's that?
Okay, I'll take that. I mean, I still think he's one of the best in the ARC, but I'll take top 3, I guess, yeah, so let's move on to third down. I mean, Chumlee's also coming off a good season. I wouldn't say great. He was second in the ARC with in passing touchdowns behind the GOAT, Dre Crowell. That's another argument for later fees to go. But anyways, the problem is he's been very inconsistent, even though he's throwing all these big numbers, touchdowns, he's still throwing a lot of interceptions with those touchdowns. So is Chumlee really the answer at QB? I mean, would there be a better upgrade out there in free agency for the Miners to pick up?
So this is interesting. So I'll start by answering the last part of your question and say, no, there's not a better quarterback that could be picked up in free agency at all. There's no one. Then I will say, this is what happens sometimes. You got guys throwing out Bum Lee. Okay, yep. We get it. His name is Chumlee. It rhymes. It's great. Sometimes he throws interceptions, guys. Guys who throw interceptions aren't necessarily bums. I have gone on my rants and soapbox many times. What do I have to do to get Chumlee's name restored to Chumlee so people will stop calling him Bumlee? And it's just never going to work. It's fine. I'm going to deal with it. But 30 touchdowns and 10 interceptions last year, I don't hate that. But I think you hit the nail on the head, Rohan. It's the inconsistency. One game he will have 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. And then the next game he will have 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. He only had 10 interceptions on the season, but I believe all of his interceptions came in multi-interception games. Yep. Right? So he had a 3-interception game, a 2-interception game, a 2-interception game. Actually, I want to say he even had a 4-interception game at one point. I forget when it was. But to be able to throw 4 touchdowns and no interceptions, and then no touchdowns and 4 interceptions, yes, it's a little bit inconsistent. Is he the answer at quarterback? I don't know that he's the answer long term because, Rohan, look at the guys that are coming out of the draft.
Exactly.
Right? Like if we are able to use a first-round draft pick on a quarterback next season, that guy comes in with probably superstar dev right away. And maybe he, it's a user-submitted quarterback and he builds his team, builds his player up. Chumlee is not a user-submitted. He's not building himself up. So is he the answer long-term at quarterback? I don't know. He's still young. He's got superstar dev. I'm not planning on moving off of him yet. His contract is going to be up in a couple years. Or am I going to be able to afford him? I don't know if he's asking for a 7-year deal, upwards of 25 million or something crazy, 30 million. No, I'm not going to give him that deal. At that point, I'm going to cut my losses. Maybe I can make a trade and get some sort of assets in return. But he's the answer right now, and he's the answer for the next season, and he's probably the answer for the next season after that. But is he going to retire a member of the Sacramento Miners? Well, no, he won't, because the Miners will probably be relocated. But will he retire a member of this franchise? I don't know. I think that's a great question, and I think it's one that people are going to have to start thinking about in terms of a lot of players in the league, and not just Chumlee. Do you think that what do you think? Do you think, you said he's a little inconsistent, but 2 years he's a free agent.
I like consistent guys. I don't buy into an inconsistent quarterback. I feel like even though he throws an amazing game, in one game, and then the next game he comes back and he throws like 3 interceptions. I don't buy into that. I feel like I think Aaron Pritchett is a free agent this year. I thought he would be a good upgrade from the Diablos. I thought he would be a good upgrade over Chumlee. There's some guys, you might as well even draft one, a younger one who has more time to develop. I'm not really happy. I think there's room for improvement at the quarterback position. That's my take.
Sure. Absolutely.
All right, well, that leads us to fourth down. All right, this is the hot take. This is the last down, last chance.
Fourth and inches. Make it good, Rohan.
All right, so the Miners just drafted Anthony Fry. You spoke with him last week. One of the best tight ends in this draft class. So he's going to be competing with Jimmy Bean, who's the current starting tight end for the Miners. He has the potential to be a starting tight end anywhere. But do you think he will be starting come week 1 in January?
You got me with some good ones. I thought maybe with this whole 4-down territory thing, Rohan, you would ease me into it a little bit, throw me a couple lobs, give me a couple cupcakes. But no, I have the guy on last week, and now 7 days haven't even gone by. And you want me to come out here and tell you and tell the audience and tell him whether or not he's going to be a starter in week 1? You're killing me. That said, yeah, you know what? I do think he'll be a starter week 1, but that's also because I'm going to be starting 2 tight ends.
Okay.
So, I don't know that. I guess the question really, like, if you're looking at if he's the starting tight end, what is your definition of starting tight end? Is your definition of starting tight end who
he's going to be like the leading tight? I guess he's going to be the leader of tight ends. Like I guess Chumlee will throw him the ball more. He gets more snaps on the field. He'll be the ball will be targeted him a lot more.
I do think he will get targeted more because I think given his speed, I'm going to put him in more single tight end sets to stretch the middle of the field. So I think he'll get targeted more, especially when guys like Dariantre McAvelli and Buck Ulbrich draw double teams, and that just leaves Jimmy Bean open over the middle of the field. So I do think he'll get more targets. I think they'll probably, I guess, yeah, he'll probably see more downs on the field than Jimmy Bean next season. But again, I'm also going to go the hot hand. I'm going to probably run a lot of 2 tight end sets. And if in the beginning of the season, Jimmy Bean comes out hot. Look, last season when I put Jimmy Bean in the starting role, he went 5 games in a row scoring a touchdown. If we start the season and Jimmy Bean goes week 1, touchdown, week 2, touchdown, week 3, touchdown, well, Anthony Fry and I are going to have a sit down and we're going to have a conversation. And, he might not like the outcome of that conversation. But again, all of that stuff is going to be determined on the field. It's really difficult for me to sit here and say right now, Anthony Fry is the tight end. He hasn't seen a down in the RFL. He doesn't know what it's like to go against the speed of the linebackers in the RFL. You don't see very many 90 overall speed linebackers in college. And the ones you do see are the user submitted ones and only the user submitted ones. So I think it's a different ballgame. And we've got linebackers in the RFL with 88, 89, 90 speed. So they can keep up with them. Not all of them. He's going to burn a lot of them. So I don't know. I think he will. If it were you, right? Like I will remove my GM hat here for a second and I will give it to you. You are running the team and you go into week 1 and you're not running 2 tight end set. You're running a 1 tight end set. Who is your number 1 tight end?
Well, first of all, I'm throwing Anthony Fry in preseason, and I'm going to see how he is. If he's like really impressive, I'm going to give him some snaps in the regular season, week 1, week 2, see how he is. And if he's still performing at a high level, I would probably start him. But it depends on how he does in preseason. If he does okay, I would still go with Jimmy Bean week 1, and then go from there. But I guess it really depends on how he performs in the preseason.
Yeah, the preseason is going to.
That's going to be really important for him.
Yeah, the preseason. Look, it's going to be really important for all these rookies. There's 9 rookies that I drafted from the draft class, and this preseason is going to be very important for all of them. Look, Kenny Forrester is going to get playing time at middle linebacker. TJ Metcalf is going to get a lot of playing time at right or left end. Glenn O'Callahan, who's an outside linebacker, really drafted for some depth, but he'll probably get some snaps at outside linebacker. Mason Rogers will slide out to outside linebacker. Xavier Beckford III will get some snaps on the defensive line as well. Paavo Frederick's going to get a lot of snaps. We had him on the show earlier. Jakari Torres is going to get a lot of snaps. Like these guys, I literally just went through the entire draft class for the most part. Those guys are all going to get reps. They're all going to get some time on the field in preseason. And so, yeah, to your point, I think it will come down to preseason and how those guys performed. 4th down doozy. Rohan, appreciate it. 4 down territory with Rohan the Producer. Rohan, I appreciate all the hard work behind the scenes tonight. Look forward to getting together with you a bit after the show and throughout the week, and we'll put together next week's Miners Live. So until then, thanks again. Next week, do me a favor, Rohan, all right?
All right.
Try to make 4 down territory a little bit easier on me. I feel like I had to throw some people under the bus here. You're telling me to get rid of Chum Lee. You're telling me to, call Damani Manuel the best back in the league. You want me to tell Jimmy Bean he's not good anymore and he lost his starting job? Like, geez.
I know. This was my first week doing this 4 down territory, so I rolled out the most difficult topics. So probably next week there won't be as difficult for you. I can assure you that.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks again, Rohan. We'll talk a bit later, bud.
All right.
All right. So we got only about a minute left, and we'll get you guys out of here. Again, at Miners RFL on Twitter. Be sure to follow the team on Twitter, at Miners RFL on Instagram. The YouTube channel is Sacramento Miners RFL. You can catch all the content. The Miners Live show goes live every single Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to check out Miners Live every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can catch it on YouTube live, or you can also catch it live on Twitter by simply going to the team's Twitter page, and the show is right there. You can watch the show live. You want to come on air, ask questions, ask away. Shout out to all the guys in the chat today. Rapid Fire Gaming, I appreciate the love. Great to have you, bud. Even though you called my boy Bum Lee, I guess he's just going to have to prove you wrong. Paavo Frederick is going to have to prove some guys wrong. 8th wide receiver selected in the draft this year. Pavo was on the show earlier, so if you missed any of the interview with Pavo, go back and catch the archives. Thanks again to Paavo Frederick. And thanks again, first and foremost, to Rohan the Producer for helping me put the show together. Really excited to have Rohan as a part of the show. So be sure, guys, to check out Rohan. You probably see him in the YouTube chats. We'll be sure to get Rohan going up and going a little bit. I do like the 4 down territory with Rohan. So that's a segment that we're going to keep. I think that'll be interesting. So until next time, guys, again, Leo Moon, shout out. I see you. Rapid Fire Gaming again. Beta Brothers, appreciate the love, guys. Until next week, this is Coach Chris Dunn of the Sacramento Miners signing off. This has been another episode of Miners Live. Take care, everybody.